But now we're asking, should the High Court block classes about gender identity for 3-year-olds? 0207 862 2222 is the number. Really want your calls on this because compulsory relationships and sex education classes are going to be taught to kids as young as 3 across Wales in the autumn. Now, parents have now launched a legal bid asking for them to be scrapped, claiming that they are inappropriate and even dangerous, some are saying. Well, as part of the new curriculum, sexuality and gender identity issues will be woven into all classes, regardless of the subject. And let's take a look at, actually, the types of things that could be included in it. So here we go. Take a look at this. So it's been divided up into different ages, and you have from 7 to 12-year-olds, but from 3 to 7-year-olds, the kind of things they're going to learn about is developing empathy, kindness and compassion through positive interaction. So that's good, right? No problems with that. However, go a little bit into the syllabus. They're also going to be taught an awareness that there are different types of families and different types of relationships, and it's this that some parents could take issue to. Let me move my glass out of the way. And then also, finally, everyone is unique. Yay. So, is there much of a problem? Well, 3-year-olds will also be taught about using the correct terms for body parts and the right to privacy. The government say the lessons will be age-appropriate. So, what do you think the court should do, Myleene? Do you think the court should get involved? Is this something you might find problematic for your children?
I have a 15-year-old, an 11-year-old, and I have a 3-year-old. So my 3-year-old would be targeted for these lessons.
Yeah.
This often becomes a minefield because let's be very clear about what it is we're teaching. You said age-appropriate, tick. You're saying teaching the right terms for body parts, huge tick. So, you know, I think as soon as you hear the word sex education, immediately people think it's going to be inappropriate, it's going to be far too much information. This information is key. It's body anatomy. I don't know why people are so frightened of penis and vulva. We give these ridiculous comedic names, woo-woo, nunny, winky, and then you wonder why we have a whole generation of adults who find it intimidating. They don't have boundaries. They don't have respect for each other's bodies, their own bodies. They don't know how to navigate this minefield. I think there's nothing but positivity, body positivity, that comes from this information. Teaching about the difference between touch, safe touch, something that's an inappropriate touch. You know, I think it's up to 97% of sexual abuse cases regarding children, they don't get prosecuted because a child doesn't have the terminology to explain what happened. Now, it's no different to the anatomy of an arm. Did they touch your arm? Well, did they touch your wrist, your elbow, your shoulder? There's so many other components that come into this. I teach this to my children at home. So I think the fact that it's being normalised at school as well, it's vitally important. Teach a child to have privacy about themselves, but empower them as to their own body so there's no embarrassment issues, and most importantly, there are boundaries.
And do you think Myleene has a point, particularly the areas of boundaries, understanding other children's body parts better, which could help when they hit teenage years?
No. I think the crucial thing is Myleene says she teaches her children, and I think that's absolutely right. I think this is down to parents. Parents will have different views. Some parents might want to teach, for example, that marriage is special and desirable. And to be then confronted with, oh, but, you know, my teacher says, is something else. But also, just look at the legality of this. A judge has already said there should be a judicial review. Now, not just the parents, the judge has said there should be a review. The Welsh Government refuses to wait for that review. And not only is it introducing all these subjects, but it's making it mandatory. Now, hitherto, parents have had the right to withdraw their children. And I do feel very strongly that Myleene, who's a parent, and people in my family who are parents, should have the absolute right to say, this is something that we want to teach our children. We want to control the pace of revelation. We want to teach it as we believe it is appropriate. And most parents will tell you, particularly parents who've got several children, that some children are ready to know things at 6, that others are not ready to know until they're 8. It must be down to the parents.
But often, parents feel embarrassed because they themselves have never had these issues addressed. So you expect a teacher to incorporate a lot of these lessons and these learnings, like let's say biology, anatomy, this is your nose, these are your ears, and then suddenly we go back to this is winky. It just becomes comedic. You're a major in Latin. These are Latin terms, Anne. There is no embarrassment about them. And what a teacher and what a parent does normally is you actually back each other's work up. So in this case, it's taking it for granted that so many people are going to be teaching this at home when they're not. The pace is being set by the curriculum at schools. There's nothing that's a red flag there. There's nothing as a parent that I sit there thinking that is not age appropriate. A relationship doesn't have to also be about marriage. It could be someone has two dads or one mum or one dad or blended families. It's just looking at different configurations.
Precisely my point. The parents might want to be teaching the importance of marriage. There are still parents who want to teach that and may feel undermined by this. But can I just make another more general point? We've had a discussion that police are expected to do far too much, to take on responsibilities that should properly belong to others. We're now doing exactly the same thing with the teaching profession, and they're expected to teach absolutely every last thing, when in fact, parents should be taking the principal responsibility.